So the question is, how and when do you know when you have or if you have a problem with alcohol or drugs? Last night, I was driving to a 12-step meeting, and it hit me that it's been over 20 years now. And it hits me very hard emotionally. I call it a gratitude attack, that I don't struggle with the beast of addiction. And like when I think about that, when I think of those days that I literally knew I was going to lose that battle that day. I might be able to hold off for a day or two or three, sometimes 7 days. But I knew I would lose that battle. And for those that know, for those of you who don't know, I can't explain that feeling of helplessness, loneliness, fear, shame, guilt, knowing that there's no way that I'm not going to not be able to take a drink or a drug that day. I used to call it getting stung. So a couple ways that we know when we have a problem, or if you're looking at someone and going, I think they have a problem. Number one, I saw a sign in my high school library years ago. It said, if you think you have a problem, then more than likely you have a problem. That's number one. Number two, simply, when you use drugs or you drink alcohol, it creates problems in your life. More than likely, you have a problem. And this is the time to get really honest with yourself. That, do you go out and plan on having one or two and you end up having 10? Have you gotten multiple DUIs? When you drink or use, do you get in fights with your spouse or family members or loved ones? Do you miss work? You could Google the 44 questions of addiction and answer them. Now, more than likely, if you're like me, if you're in the throes of it, you're probably going to lie to yourself and go, so what? I'm making X amount of money. So what? I have a car, I have a house, I have a business, blah, 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 blah. All of that crap, it doesn't matter, man. If simply when you use or when you drink, it creates problems in your life, I'm telling you, you got a problem. At the very least, you have a problem. And I compare it to, like, for those that are allergic to shellfish, when you eat shellfish, you either vomit or your throat closes up or something like that happens. When that happens, you never eat shellfish again, right? You just go, nope, that's it. That's the difference. With alcohol and drugs, the mental obsession and all of the other stuff that I won't go into here kicks in, and it always tells us it's going to be different this time. And a lot of times it will be. But here's a story. I'm going to say 8 years ago, I get a call early in the morning, like not super early, 8 o'clock in the morning. And there's a friend of mine on the phone, and he's crying. And I said, what's up, man? What's going on? He goes, dude, I think I have a drinking problem. So right away, I'm like, you think? Okay. I don't call people and go, hey, I think I have an obesity problem, because I'm not obese. So he calls me and says, I think I got a drinking problem. So what's going on? He says, well, last night I had too much to drink and I barely remember it, but I was screaming at my wife in front of my two little babies, my two little toddler girls. And I feel so bad, blah, 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 right? And a couple days go by, and what happens is the fear and the guilt and the shame and all that wears off. And hey, I'm going to be able to control it. And he goes about his business. And I said to him, hey, let me ask you a question. What's your favorite fruit? And he said, strawberries. I said, when you eat too many strawberries, do you end up yelling at your wife in front of your kids? And he says, no. And I said, that's the difference. Let him go. I invited him to a meeting. No, I can handle this on my own. And I always know hopefully another call's coming, because if not, then it's going to be really bad. So he calls me, it's probably a year, maybe even 2 years later. Same thing. And he finally says, I can't take it anymore. I don't want to do this. And luckily, that man is now, I believe, 3 years clean and sober. And he stopped yelling at his wife. And like, that is a very high bottom. But imagine the impact that has on your children, or children in general, that you have this raging lunatic who's drunk screaming at their mother. Imagine the fear, imagine the devastation and the damage. So when do you know and how can you tell if you got a problem? I would say if you're questioning it. Like, there's some pretty simple things out there, man. And what I will tell you is put your ego aside. I know I fought it. I had guys that said, hey, Ed, do it the easy way. Come with us. And I said, no, 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 no. For probably, 5, 6 years. And I'm lucky I made it. I'm lucky I lived. So as always, reach out to me if you need any help with this. But don't reach out to me unless you're ready to make the decision to just stop and humble yourself and listen. I don't want to hear your sob stories because I know where you're at and it's not going to do you any good. It's not going to do me any good to listen to your sob story. And I'm saying that with love. You either are or you aren't, right? We have to pray to God. We have to ask for clarity. We have to ask for guidance. We have to turn it over. There's a lot of things we need to do. But the first thing we have to do as a human being is go, I don't want to keep causing the destruction in my life and my family, my business, and my world. All right. So I hope that helps. Great hanging out with you. I got to hop on a coaching call with one of the members from the Brotherhood. So remember, mindset. Mindset is everything.